I stand frozen at the edge of my father's sprawling backyard, clutching an envelope that suddenly weighs 1,000 pounds. The June sun beats down on my bare shoulders, but a chill runs through me anyway. 50-some guests mill about, champagne flutes glinting in the afternoon light, laughter punctuating the steady hum of conversation. I'm overdressed in my tailored burgundy dress among the casual summer attire, but that's the least of my concerns as Douglas Whitcomb father taps his glass with a silver spoon. "If I could have everyone's attention," he calls, his voice carrying across the manicured lawn. The crowd quiets, turning toward the stone patio where he stands next to my mother, Irene. Her hand rests on his arm, fingers splayed across the sleeve of his linen shirt. I take a step forward, then another. 9 hours of driving from Portland to Boise for this moment, rehearsing my speech, imagining their faces when they see what I've brought. "First, thank you all for coming to celebrate this milestone with me." Father continues, his silver hair catching the sunlight. 66 years, who would have thought I'd make it this far? Polite laughter ripples through the crowd. "And on my birthday, I'd like to make an announcement about something Irene and I have been discussing." I pause behind a cluster of their friends, close enough to hear clearly but partially hidden from view. My heart thuds against my ribs. "We've decided to finalize our estate planning. Everything will go to our children, Trent and Maisie." My throat constricts. I glance toward my siblings, standing near our parents. Trent, tall and confident at 27, nods as if this is expected. Maisie, his twin, smiles politely, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Father pauses, then chuckles. "Oh, and Charlotte, I forgot to include her. She's adopted after all." The crowd laughs. Actually laughs. As if my existence is the punchline to a joke everyone but me understands. Trent and Maisie exchange smirks. Mother looks down at her champagne glass, her expression unreadable. Blood drains from my face. My knees threaten to buckle. 9 hours of driving. 2 days of anticipation. 34 years of trying to belong. All for this. Earlier that day, I sat in my car outside the Whitcomb family home, staring at the 2-story colonial with its perfect shutters and immaculate flower beds. The deed to the Lake Tahoe property lay on the passenger seat beside me, wrapped in thick cream paper with a simple gold ribbon. I studied my reflection in the rearview mirror. "You can do this, Charlotte," I whispered, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Just give them the gift and go." My fingers tightened around the steering wheel as an unbidden memory surfaced standing in front of the foster home at 4 years old, small suitcase in hand, watching the Whitcombs approach. "This is your new family," the social worker had said. Douglas had knelt down to my level, his smile warm. "Would you like to come home with us, Charlotte?" I blinked the memory away and gathered the gift from the seat. This was my chance to bridge the gap that had grown between us over the decades. This beautiful lakefront property would be my way of saying, "I made it, despite everything, and I still want to be part of this family." Now I push through the stunned crowd, past the whispers, past the stares. My heels sink slightly into the grass with each step, but I stand taller than I have in years. "Charlotte," Father says, surprise flickering across his face. "I didn't see you arrive." Of course he didn't. I lift the envelope, my voice steadier than I thought possible. This is a gift deed to a lakefront home worth $3.5 million. Murmurs sweep through the gathered guests. Father's eyes widen. Mother's champagne glass freezes halfway to her lips. 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. I continue, feeling strangely calm now. Private dock. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake Tahoe. The property taxes are paid for the next 5 years. Silence blankets the yard. Even the birds seem to have stopped singing. "I came to give it to you not to win favor but to honor what I thought we had." Father reaches for the envelope, but I pull it back slightly. "You know," I say quietly, "I built a company from nothing, worked 3 jobs through college, created something valuable enough that I could buy this for you without blinking. And still, I'm just the adopted one, the afterthought." I look directly into my father's eyes and slowly tear the deed into pieces. The sound of ripping paper cuts through the silence. Fragments flutter to the ground like oversized confetti. The guests stand frozen. Someone gasps. Mother's hand flies to her mouth. I don't say another word. Nothing more needs to be said. With quiet dignity, I turn and walk away, feeling 50 pairs of eyes on my back. Just before I reach the gate, I glance over my shoulder. Father stands motionless, staring at the torn papers at his feet. For the first time in my life, I see something like realization dawning on his face. Too little, too late. Later that night, my apartment windows frame Portland's downtown lights like a postcard against the darkness of the Willamette River. I lean against the glass, 42 floors above the city. This view cost more than my first year of college tuition, paid in cash from my personal account without blinking. The Clear Grid quarterly report sits open on my tablet, 13 million in valuation, 22% growth since last quarter, 47 employees across 3 states. Numbers that should matter. I peel off my burgundy dress and let it pool on the hardwood floor. The same dress I wore to Father's party yesterday. 9 hours of driving home with my hands locked at 10 and 2, radio off, mind racing. Sleep doesn't come. How could it? Morning arrives with ruthless punctuality. I apply concealer under my eyes, sweep my hair into a low bun, and zip myself into a charcoal pencil skirt. The woman in the mirror looks nothing like someone who tore up a multi-million-dollar property deed 20 hours ago. At work later that morning, quarterly projections show continued growth. I tell the boardroom of attentive faces, my voice steady, my PowerPoint flawless. I field questions with precision, authorize new hires with confident nods, delegate action items without hesitation. Nobody sees the fault lines. The conference room empties. Someone mentions drinks to celebrate the numbers. I smile, make an excuse, and watch them go. Later, when my apartment door closes behind me, I sink to the floor. The dam breaks. Tears come so violently my body shakes with the force of them. I haven't cried like this since I was 7. Mother brought the twins home wrapped in matching yellow blankets. I'd spent weeks helping her prepare their nursery, carefully arranging stuffed animals on shelves, folding tiny clothes into drawers. I'd practiced being a big sister, reading stories aloud to Mother's growing belly. "Charlotte, meet Trent and Maisie," Father had said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. For 3 weeks I was included. I fetched diapers, sang lullabies, stood on tiptoes to peek into their cribs while they slept. Then something shifted. "Charlotte, not now," became Mother's standard response. "The babies need me." I found her in the garden one Saturday, the first time she'd been outside since the twins came home. Sunlight caught in her hair as she knelt among her roses. I grabbed my small trowel and settled beside her, the way we used to spend weekend mornings. "Can I help?" I asked, reaching for a weed. She jerked away as if burned. "I need peace right now, Charlotte. But I can be quiet, The twins kept me up all night. I need this time to myself." Her fingers trembled slightly. "Go play in your room." "But you're just adopted," she snapped, voice sharp as broken glass. "That's not your place." The trowel fell from my hand. I backed away, 7 years old and suddenly understanding everything. That was the first time, not the last. My 6th grade science fair trophy earned a distracted, "That's nice," from Father, who then spent an hour praising Maisie's finger painting. My perfect report cards merited nods while Trent's C+ in math prompted celebratory ice cream. My high school graduation I stood valedictorian on stage, scanning the audience for their faces, finding their seats empty. They'd left early for Trent's baseball practice. University of Washington offered me a partial scholarship. I announced over dinner my senior year, acceptance letter clutched in my hand. Father looked up briefly from his newspaper. "Good luck," he said, then returned to reading. No congratulations, no discussion of finances, no questions about housing. I worked 3 jobs during college. Opened the coffee shop at 5 a.m., rushing to afternoon classes still smelling of espresso. Delivered packages across campus between lectures. Weekends spent cleaning laboratory equipment for extra cash. My apartment was a converted storage room above a Chinese restaurant, where I studied environmental software engineering by the glow of my laptop until my eyes burned. At graduation, I sat alone. Watched other families take photos, bring flowers, make dinner reservations. My diploma came with $68,000 in debt, and no one to witness me receive it. The phone interrupts my memories at the present. Aunt Lorna's name lights up my screen. Mother's sister. The only one who ever remembered my birthdays. "Charlotte, it's Lorna." I wipe my face. "Hi, Aunt Lorna." "What you did was brave," she says without preamble. "They've been picking up the pieces since you left." My heart stutters. What do you mean? Douglas collected the torn deed fragments, then sitting at his desk staring at them. Her voice softens. The guests were horrified. 3 couples left immediately after you did. Margaret Williams told Irene she should be ashamed. I say nothing. They regret it, Lorna continues. They just don't know how to say it. After we hang up, I walk to my bookshelf and pull down an old photo album. One picture remains 10-year-old me, standing stiffly between Douglas and Irene at a company picnic. Their hands hover near my shoulders without quite touching. I place the frame face down and pull out a leather journal I bought years ago but never used. My pen hovers over the blank page. I begin to write. The day I stopped trying to be their daughter. After 3 paragraphs, I close the journal. Place it in a drawer. Tomorrow's investor meeting needs my attention. The quarterly reports need review. A potential partnership needs evaluation. I'm good at building things, companies, technologies, fortresses around my heart. Some walls serve their purpose. Another memory flashback. The fluorescent light flickers overhead, casting an eerie glow across the cramped office space. I rub my eyes and glance at my watch. 3:16 a.m. The numbers blur together as Celia hunches over her laptop at the desk across from mine, dark circles under her eyes matching my own. Try it again, I whisper, afraid to jinx our 12th attempt by speaking too loudly. Celia taps a few keys, runs her fingers through her curly hair, and presses enter. The algorithm churns through the test date numbers representing energy usage from a downtown Portland office building. We've been at this for 19 hours straight, subsisting on vending machine coffee and stale granola bars. Come on, Celia murmurs, drumming her fingertips against the desk. Come on, baby. The computer fan whirs loudly in the silence. I hold my breath. Then it happens. The monitor displays a perfect bell curve with a jagged line cutting through it, energy usage optimized in real time. The program worked. Our AI can predict and adjust commercial building energy consumption with 89% accuracy. Charlotte, Celia whispers, eyes wide. Look at the timestamp. 3:17 a.m. I laugh until tears stream down my face. 3 months of coding, 17 investor rejections, and $42,000 of our combined savings all vindicated in this moment. We did it, I say, my voice cracking. ClearGrid works. Celia raises her coffee mug in a toast. To saving the planet one boring office building at a time. We clink our chipped mugs together, exhausted but triumphant in our little 10 by 12 rental space with the leaky ceiling and unreliable heat. They were wrong about us, I say softly, thinking of all the men in expensive suits who'd shown us the door. 2 months earlier, I sat in my car in the parking lot of Evergreen Venture Capital, rain pounding against the windshield, blurring the world outside. The rejection still rang in my ears. Maybe technology isn't for you, dear. The investor had smiled condescendingly, passing back our business plan without even looking at the second page. Energy optimization is a man's field, all that engineering and math. Have you considered something more approachable? I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. This marked rejection number 14. Each one hurt worse than the last. Each one echoed voices from my childhood. Not good enough. Not real family. Not worth investing in. A tap on my window startled me. Celia stood in the downpour holding 2 steaming cups, her jacket pulled over her head. I unlocked the door and she slid into the passenger seat, water droplets cascading off her onto the upholstery. They said no, I said flatly. I gathered. She handed me a cup. Actual coffee, not that break room swill. The warmth seeped into my palms. I'm thinking about quitting. Celia took a long sip, then turned to face me directly. No, you're not. 14 rejections, Celia. No one believes in this. I believe in this, she gestured between us. And you believe in this? Since when did you need anyone else's permission to succeed? The rain hammered against the roof of my car as her words sank in. I thought about every science fair ribbon my parents hadn't celebrated, every graduation they'd missed, every accomplishment they'd dismissed. We don't need their money, Celia continued. We'll bootstrap it, take more consulting gigs, sleep less. I laughed despite myself. We already sleep 4 hours a night. Overrated, she grinned. You know what's not overrated? Proving smug men wrong. The first real client meeting came 3 weeks after our algorithm breakthrough. Tom Weathers, facilities manager for Columbia Tower, crossed his arms over his chest the minute we walked into the conference room. His skepticism radiated across the polished table. "So you ladies think you can cut my energy costs by 20%? He didn't try to hide his disbelief. "With software?" I placed my laptop on the table, maintaining eye contact. "No, Mr. Weathers. I think we can cut them by 23%, minimum." His eyebrows rose slightly. For the next 40 minutes, I walked him through the technical specification show. Our AI analyzed historical usage patterns, weather forecasts, occupancy rates, and equipment efficiency to create predictive models for energy consumption. How it learned and adapted in real time. How it could interface with his existing building management system with minimal disruption. I watched his expression change from dismissive to curious to engaged. "The programming continuously self-corrects," I explained, showing him our test results. "The longer it runs, the more accurate it becomes. By month 3, you'll see a return on investment. By month 6, you'll wonder how you managed without it." When I finished, silence filled the room. Tom leaned forward, studying the projections on my screen. "You developed all this yourselves?" he finally asked. "Every line of code," Celia confirmed. He nodded slowly. "I've sat through presentations from companies 10 times your size offering half of what you're promising." He extended his hand. "Let's try it for 3 months. If it works like you say, we'll sign for the year." The contract sat on my desk that evening, Tom's signature fresh on the dotted line. Our first real client. Our vision validated. The makeshift celebration in our tiny office involved supermarket champagne in paper cups and delivery pizza. As our small team of 4, Celia and I, plus our newly hired data analyst and system architect raised our cups, I felt something I hadn't experienced since childhood: belonging. Within 18 months, ClearGrid grew from 4 people to 15. We moved from our cramped rental to a proper office space in downtown Portland, with my name on the door. Friday evenings became team dinner nights, a tradition that started accidentally when a project ran late and I ordered food for everyone. The casual conversation, shared jokes, and genuine camaraderie around those takeout containers made me realize what I'd been missing my entire life. Family doesn't require shared DNA. Family is who shows up. The validation I'd sought from the Whitcombs came instead from unexpected places: the Wall Street Journal mentioning our innovative approach to commercial energy conservation, the Environmental Foundation nominating us for their annual Innovation Award the day our company valuation hit $1 million. I watched the ticker on our financial dashboard click over to 7 figures from my office overlooking the Willamette River. Success tasted sweeter than I'd imagined. But something hollow lingered beneath the achievement. That evening, scrolling through social media, a post caught my eye. A distant cousin sharing plans for Douglas Whitcomb's 66th birthday party. My father, the man who'd claimed me, then discarded me, celebrating another year while I remained a footnote in his story. An idea formed as I stared at the announcement. Not revenge exactly. Something more complex. A gesture that would prove my worth once and for all. The next morning, I called a real estate agent about lakefront properties in Tahoe. Back at the present, 3 weeks after the incident, I stand at the edge of the stage, the conference room lights reflecting off my burgundy silk blouse. 300 industry executives stare back at me, their faces a blur as I click to the final slide of my presentation. My voice remains steady despite the hollow feeling that's taken residence beneath my ribs since that day in Boise. And that's how ClearGrid's new adaptive learning algorithm reduces commercial energy consumption by up to 38%. I pause, sweeping my gaze across the Denver Energy Conference audience. Any questions? Several hands shoot up. I point to a silver-haired man in the front row. "Miss Blair, the innovation your team has developed is remarkable. What inspired this breakthrough?" The question is softball, professional. I give my standard answer about sustainability goals and market inefficiencies. What I don't say, I built this company because it was the only thing I could control. The only family that wouldn't reject me. 20 minutes later, I'm gathering my laptop when a familiar figure approaches from the back of the emptying room. My stomach tightens. Aunt Lorna, me mother's sister, stands before me in a forest green blazer. Her silver-streaked hair shorter than when I last saw her. Charlotte. Her voice carries the same Midwest lilt as my mother's, but without the cold undertone. "Your presentation was brilliant." I slip my laptop into its case, buying seconds to compose myself. "Thank you. I didn't expect to see you here." I'm consulting on a university research project. She hesitates. And I thought, perhaps we could talk. I scan the room, several lingering executives, none close enough to overhear. I have another session to attend. A lie, but Lorna doesn't challenge it. Instead, she passes me a business card with handwriting on the back. Magnolia Cafe, 3 blocks from here. I'll be there at 6 if you change your mind. I tuck the card into my pocket without looking at it, nod curtly, and walk away. Back in my hotel room, I check my phone for the first time since morning. 3 new voicemails from my mother. The red notification has been there for weeks now, a digital scab I refuse to pick. An email from Trent sits unread in my inbox. Subject line, "Time to move past the drama." A sealed letter from my father rests in my suitcase where I tossed it upon arrival. My finger hovers over the delete button for the voicemails. Before I can press it, a notification pops up, another LinkedIn connection request from Maisie. 4th one this month. I toss the phone onto the bed and stand at the window, watching afternoon traffic crawl through downtown Denver. The mountains rise in the distance, indifferent to human concerns. At 5:52 p.m., I find myself pushing open the door to Magnolia Cafe, a quiet place with exposed brick walls and the rich scent of coffee. Lorna sits in a corner booth stirring a cup of tea. She looks up, surprise and relief crossing her face as I slide into the seat across from her. "I didn't think you'd come," she says. I order black coffee from the hovering server. I almost didn't. When we're alone again, Lorna leans forward. "Your father hasn't been the same since that day." "Good." The word escapes before I can stop it. "He collected all the pieces of that deed, you know. Has them in an envelope in his desk drawer." Something twists inside me. I focus on the grain of the wooden table. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because they're human, Charlotte. Flawed, yes. Cruel, sometimes. But what you did, it shook them." She wraps her hands around her mug. "Irene reads every article about you but won't admit it. The twins are conflicted, Maisie especially." The coffee arrives. I wrap my fingers around the warm ceramic, anchoring myself. "Did they send you?" "No." Lorna's gaze is direct. "They don't know I'm here." Steam rises between us like all the words I've never said. Part of me, the little girl who stood in front of foster homes, the teenager who watched her parents cheer for Trent and Maisie while ignoring her accomplishments, wants to rush home, to answer the calls, to believe this might be a turning point. The woman who built a multi-million-dollar company knows better. "I have my first appointment with a trauma counselor tomorrow," I say finally. The admission surprises even me. Lorna's eyes widen slightly. "That takes courage." "Does it, or is it just practical?" I stare into my coffee. "The Lake Tahoe house. I thought success would finally make them see me, but I was still seeking their approval, wasn't I?" The realization settles like a weight. Dr. Bennett will probably say the same thing tomorrow. That night in my hotel room, I open my laptop and begin drafting an email. Not to my parents, not yet. To Maisie. The words come slowly, each one measured. I set clear boundaries, what I need from any family member who wishes to reconnect. Acknowledgement of past behavior. No pretending things were different than they were. No sweeping decades of exclusion under the rug. I click send before I can reconsider, then open a new document. At the top I type, Bright Rise Foundation, Mission and Structure. Below, I sketch the framework for scholarships and mentorship programs for foster youth and orphans. A way to create what I never had. The empty feeling beneath my ribs doesn't disappear, but something else grows alongside it. Not forgiveness, not yet, but purpose, direction. The tattered remains of a $3.5 million gift couldn't buy my family's love. Perhaps nothing can, but maybe that was never the point. 6 months later, the Bright Rise Foundation launch pulsates with energy. 200 people fill the converted warehouse space, its industrial bones softened by strategic lighting and living greenery. I stand at the podium, my burgundy suit a deliberate echo of what I wore to my father's birthday party 6 months ago. But everything else has changed. Bright Rise exists because belonging shouldn't be conditional. I say into the microphone, my voice carrying across the hushed room. Every child deserves to know they're enough, exactly as they are. A murmur of agreement ripples through the crowd. I scan the faces, donors, foster care advocates, local business leaders, and freeze. In the back row, partially obscured by a support column, Sit Douglas and Irene Whitcomb. My father's silver hair catches the light. My mother clutches her handbag like a life preserver. My heart hammers against my ribs. 1 breath. 2. I continue without missing a beat. Our first initiative provides college scholarships to 20 foster youth annually. The second creates mentorship matches with business leaders. My voice grows stronger with each word. And the third, most ambitious, will build transitional housing for those aging out of the system. Applause erupts. I don't look back at the last row. The next morning, I sit in Riverside Cafe, a strategic choice public enough to prevent a scene, private enough for conversation. Celia occupies a table nearby, pretending to work on her laptop while actually running interference if needed. You don't have to do this, she'd said earlier. I know, I'd replied, but I need to. The bell above the door chimes. My parents enter, scanning the room with uncertain eyes. They've aged in the months since I saw them. Douglas's shoulders slump slightly. Irene's makeup doesn't quite hide the fatigue around her eyes. I don't stand when they approach. Charlotte, my father says, my name awkward in his mouth. You look well. Please sit, I reply, gesturing to the chairs across from me. They lower themselves into the seats, movements hesitant. We've never done this before, met as equals. The waiter brings the coffee I ordered for them. Black for Douglas. Cream, no sugar for Irene. The small detail startles them. We were impressed by your foundation launch, my father begins, his rehearsed speech evident in the careful cadence. The family has always valued community service. I take a slow sip of my tea. Which family is that? His face reddens. Charlotte, we want to talk about our family legacy, your place in it. My place, I repeat, the words sharp-edged. Interesting choice of words. Irene leans forward, eyes suddenly bright with tears. We've missed you, Charlotte, every day. Have you? Of course we have, she insists. We always believed in you. My father nods. We've been telling everyone how proud we are, how we always knew your business would succeed. Something snaps inside me. Not with rage, but with a calm, devastating clarity. That's a lie, I say quietly. They blink, startled by the direct challenge. You never believed in me. When I got into the University of Washington, Dad said, and I quote, good luck with that. Mom didn't say anything at all. I placed my palms flat on the table. When I started ClearGrid, neither of you returned my calls for 3 months. That's not fair, my father protests, but his voice lacks conviction. When the twins were born, everything changed. I became invisible. At 7 years old, I couldn't understand why. I lock eyes with my mother. Remember when I helped you plant tulip bulbs? You told me I was your special helper. 2 weeks after the twins were born, I tried to help again. You snapped that I wasn't really your daughter and to stop getting in the way. Irene's face crumples. I was exhausted. The twins weren't sleeping. I was 7, I cut in. And that was just the beginning. The cafe hums around us. A barista steams milk. Sunlight shifts through the windows. I don't want revenge. I don't need your money or your approval anymore. My voice remains steady. But if you want any relationship with me going forward, there's one non-negotiable condition. Honesty. No more pretending. No more rewriting history. The door chimes again. My sister Maisie walks in, her eyes finding us immediately. She moves toward our table with purpose, her expression a mix of determination and fear. I invited her. I explain before my parents can speak. She reached out to me last month. Maisie slides into the 4th chair. I'm sorry I'm late, she says, then turns to me. Thank you for agreeing to this. My parents stare at her in confusion. I came to apologize, Maisie says, her voice breaking. I knew how they treated you. I saw it happening and I never said anything. I laughed when they made jokes about you being adopted. I accepted their favoritism because it benefited me. Tears spill down her cheeks. I was wrong, Charlotte. So wrong. My father shifts uncomfortably. Maisie, that's not necessary. It is necessary, she insists. Trent won't come. He still thinks Charlotte is making a big deal out of nothing, but I can't pretend anymore. Something warm and fragile unfurls in my chest, not forgiveness exactly, but its distant cousin. Recognition. I turn back to my parents. Douglas struggles visibly, pride warring with the evidence of his failure. Irene weeps silently, no longer trying to hide her tears. I made a life without you, I tell them. A good one. With people who see me clearly and value me completely. We want to try again, my mother whispers. Please. I don't know if that's possible, I say honestly. But it starts with acknowledging what happened. All of it. My father opens his mouth, closes it. Finally, he nods once, the gesture small but significant. Maisie reaches across the table, her fingers stopping short of touching mine. A question. I don't answer yet. Some bridges take time to rebuild. Is an apology enough after years of rejection? Or are some wounds too deep to fully heal? A year later, I stand in the doorway of the Bright Rise Foundation's main conference room, watching Kaya bend over her science project. Her brow furrows in concentration as she adjusts a small solar panel, dark curls falling across her face. At 13, she reminds me so much of myself at that age, brilliant, determined, and navigating a world that wasn't built for her. Try connecting the red wire to the positive terminal, I suggest, stepping into the room. You've got everything else right. Kaya looks up, her eyes brightening. I knew it was something simple. Her fingers, nimble and sure, make the connection. The small fan attached to her miniature renewable energy display whirs to life. Yes! I can't help but smile at her victory. 1 year ago, I stood in my father's backyard, tearing a property deed worth millions into confetti. Today, I'm helping a foster child build something that matters. The foundation offices hum with activity around us. Through the glass walls, I see college students comparing notes on scholarship applications, recent graduates discussing careers in sustainable technology, and my staff coordinating mentorship programs across 5 states. What began as a way to channel my pain has blossomed into something I never expected, a place where belonging isn't earned, it's given freely. Miss Blair? Our receptionist appears at the door. Your 3 o'clock is here, and Miss Dominguez sent over the quarterly numbers from ClearGrid. I nod, squeezing Kaya's shoulder. Knock them dead at the science fair tomorrow. I'll be there, front row. Promise? She looks up, a flash of vulnerability crossing her face. I promise. The words carry weight. In my world, promises aren't made lightly. Later, after meetings and budget reviews, I stand before a wall of photographs in my private office. Scholarship recipients in graduation caps, mentor-mentee pairs at community projects. The ClearGrid team breaking ground on our 3rd regional headquarters. No family portraits, no holiday gatherings until recently. My fingers trace the newest edition, a small birthday celebration from last month. Celia raising a glass beside me. Dr. Bennett, my therapist, who finally accepted a personal invitation. 3 Bright Rise staff members who've become more than colleagues. And Kaya, blowing out candles on a cake they surprised me with. My phone buzzes with a text from Maisie. Arriving tomorrow at 2. Bringing those accounting textbooks for your scholarship students. Can we grab coffee before I head to the foundation? I type back. Coffee works. The usual place. My sister, the word still feels strange, has been coming to Portland monthly to volunteer at Bright Rise. Her first visit was awkward, full of halting conversations and careful distance. Now there's something tentatively hopeful growing between us. She's the only one who apologized without qualification. Mother tries, in her way. Our family therapy sessions are stilted but honest. She's learning to say what she means instead of what sounds appropriate. Father still struggles with his pride, showing up to therapy but rarely speaking. And Trent remains conspicuously absent, refusing to acknowledge anything has changed. Next weekend, another text arrives, this one from Mother. Thanksgiving is 6 weeks away. We'd love to have you home in Boise this year. I set the phone down without answering and walk to my apartment balcony overlooking the Willamette River. The invitation sits heavy, a test I'm not sure I want to take. Dr. Bennett's words from our last session echo. Boundaries aren't walls, Charlotte, they're doors you control. I've spent months building those boundaries, learning what healthy love looks like. And suddenly I know I'll host Thanksgiving here instead. My space, my rules, my chosen family. Maisie and Aunt Lorna can come if they want. Mother too, perhaps, if she's willing to enter my world instead of expecting me to fit into hers. Inside, on my desk, sits a small wooden box containing fragments of torn paper, the Lake Tahoe deed I once thought could buy the connection I craved. I don't need to open it anymore to remember what it represents. Some things money can't buy or fix. But what I've built instead feels more valuable than any property ever could.